Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Carton Council's Road to Recycling podcast series. This episode is entitled, Can School Carton Recycling Go the Distance? Expert Tales and Triumphs. I'm Debbie Dodson, and I'm part of the Carton Council's school field team. As schools face increasing pressure to reduce waste, developing and maintaining sustainable recycling programs is a big opportunity. This podcast will offer expert insights and real-world examples of how third-party organizations have helped to successfully initiate school recycling programs that are built to last. I'm joined today by Claire Olekshek, Executive Director of Sustain Dane in Wisconsin, and Camille Sawinski, who heads BCK programs in California. In my role at the Carton Council, I have gotten to know both Claire and Camille over the past few years, and we at the Carton Council have been excited to be a small part of the success they have had establishing recycling programs in schools in both Wisconsin and California. Welcome, Claire and Camille. Claire, can you start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and Sustain Dane?
Sure. Hey, Debbie and Camille. Thanks for having us on the podcast. My name is Claire Olekshak. I'm the Executive Director of Sustain Dane. And Dane is the name of the county that we're located in. So we focus on sustainability at lots of different levels. We work with businesses, we work with individuals, we work with municipalities and schools. And, with our work, we're focused on education, learning, connection, and then taking action, which we're going to be talking about today, how those all weave together and how that path is working at schools.
And Camille, I think I've known you since you were a parent volunteer at an elementary school here in San Diego County so many years ago. And you've taken that project where you were a volunteer and you've now expanded it countywide and are helping numerous school districts. Can you tell us about BCK?
Yes, I can. And it's so great to talk to you, Debbie. You have helped me so much along the way. And it's really great for us to put our thoughts down for other people to benefit from. I'm really happy to be included in the discussion. I'm one of the founders of BCK Programs, an environmental education company. We service multiple schools and school districts in the San Diego area by creating pollution prevention and climate change lessons for students ranging from kindergarten to 12th grade. I have a background in environmental law, and our instructors have expertise in water infrastructure, water engineering, marine biology, composting, gardening, sustainability, and of course, education. So we do have a few teachers on our staff as well.
That's awesome. And I know both of your programs are much more broad than just recycling cartons, but today we're going to kind of focus on that because more than 4 billion cartons are consumed in schools, U.S. schools every year, which means that starting and maintaining recycling programs in schools can be a big opportunity to capture those cartons from landfills and redirect them towards end markets. Educationally, these programs provide hands-on learning experiences about environmental stewardship and sustainability, helping students develop practical knowledge and skills that they can bring home and teach their families. Would you agree with that, Camille?
I would. It's actually the perfect starting point for any school district wanting to incorporate responsible environmental stewardship into their best practices. Carton recycling in particular is an easy sell. First of all, cartons are highly recyclable. We love to tell students how their cartons will go on to become tissues, toilet paper, and sustainable building material in their next life. We joke around that carton recycling is the gateway drug into all other forms of school sustainability. Next, when we pull cartons and cardboard trays out of the waste stream, we drastically reduce the volume of waste in the landfill dumpster because at least here, waste haulers charge school districts by volume rather than weight. You almost immediately reduce the amount of waste going into the landfill dumpster, and that makes a big impact. You almost immediately can shorten the number of days that you need for scheduled pickups, or at least the size of the dumpster. And when you do that, you're showing potentially a money savings for the district. And so for those schools that are not motivated by environmental reasons, like my team is, it makes a convincing argument for them. So it's a great way to start. And in California, you can use that savings to pay that extra amount of money you need for organics waste pickup, which we have.
I love that reminder that right-sizing the bin after you implement a recycling program is really critical to reducing what's going to the landfill and to saving the school district money. Claire, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
Camille, did a great job summarizing that, and similar experience to what we have in Wisconsin. Kids can touch, see, feel, and be a part of seeing a change in a system in their cafeteria. And that's really empowering for them, and they are amazing leaders for other students, and feeling that they are making a difference, which is just one of the great parts of carton recycling in schools. I recall we were doing a dumpster dive one day. We had, all the cartons out and the other things. We're seeing contamination there. So, this big tarp spread out, and this kid walks over and he says, "Oh, what do you guys do with the cartons?" Tell me, he goes, "Oh, you know what? My parents didn't know that you could recycle cartons. So I got to teach them that too." And that, just like that makes me have goosebumps. I love that, right? That's the whole point. Is the kids are the experts. They're the ones excited about this and knowing how to make a difference and how to make an improvement, both in their schools and then at home. So yeah, it's just kind of those lifelong recycling habits in the students, contributing more to sustainable futures. In addition to the kids, having a real close relationship with the school staff and the custodial staff and the benefits that they also see. It can make it easier for custodians sometimes when they're not hauling all milk or cartons or, all these other elements that are just being put in the trash, having a cleaner, experience for their waste stream at the end of it. And I think, just reducing how much is going to the landfill. Here where we are, our landfill is actually reaching its capacity. We have about 5 to 8 years left of our landfill. So there's a lot of conversations going on right now. They've already picked the next location and where it's being expanded to. They are calling it a sustainability campus and they're looking at more recycling, but it's really real to us. There's limited space in landfills. And what can we be doing? Everything we can be doing, getting everything recyclable out of that landfill and also getting the organics out.
That's great. And I really do love the story about how the student was so excited to go home and teach their family something new. I mean, that is what we strive for, is what you can recycle at home, you can recycle at school. And those messages are reinforced both directions. So we've just said all the good stuff about recycling, but let's all admit that there's some challenges facing the schools in implementing these programs. So there's lots of opportunities and benefits, but some of the common hurdles are lack of funding and resources. Schools are notoriously underfunded. They struggle with limited budgets. It makes it difficult to even purchase essential equipment like recycling bins and signage, as well as to hire dedicated staff to run these programs. What are some of the obstacles in your working with your school districts? How have you overcome them? Claire, do you want to start us off on that?
Yeah, let me start by saying I love teachers and schools. And I mean, they are just like the angels of the world. They do so much amazing work every day in and out to educate students. And in the conversations that I feel we've been a part of, we have a kind of alignment around inspiring students, right? And kind of thinking about this program as a way of inspiring students for them to have impact, be the best they can be, and, go on to, find their way. Some of the challenges are time though, right? There's so much we want to do, but there's never enough time in anyone's day, especially in schools. So, finding, the attention, the focus, and then getting, a change put in place just, takes a bunch of different people. And you just got to make sure that everyone's been informed, they've got their questions answered, there's alignment. And then, one of the things we do in our program is we are there as the hands and the additional people to make this change and make this successful. So this isn't one more thing being put on custodial staff or cafeteria staff or teachers. It's about, hey, do you guys have suggestions for how we can make this better? And then we're going to be the ones to make this happen. And you give us some, some guardrails for what you want to make sure you see in your school, but then we can go in and help this happen. So they may not have the expertise or knowledge specifically about recycling or best practices around lids to use or how to do, the milk pouring and that kind of stuff, where we can come in, but really it's a partnership, feeling that we're co-creating this, and then we can have effective recycling practices rolled out and sustained.
I love that. Camille, do you want to add anything to this? What have been your major obstacles?
Yeah, I would add to that. I mean, Claire did a really great job of kind of explaining why you should try to bring someone in to help, maybe Carton Council, maybe Sustain Dane, a company such as mine. And the reason is because sometimes we have this problem of over relying on volunteers, right? So early on in recycling, you did really primarily get started by a parent who was super involved, and then they kind of took on the recycling program. And that's great, and more power to that all the time. But I think what has happened is that schools kind of got a little complacent and they began to rely on volunteers to do that work. So don't get me wrong when I say this, I want to be clear. Volunteers are always really important. But if a district is serious about waste diversion, and again, remember in California, they have to be because it's the law, they need to legitimize it as an important school function. They need to do that at all the schools within the district so that it's consistent. It has to be a legitimate program. And this might include updating job descriptions to include these tasks or mandatory training of their staff every year so that it really hits home that this is what we're doing. It's part of our school culture now. It's not just a pet project of a parent, no matter how noble that might be. And also, we don't find the same level of volunteerism at every school, and even at every school within the same district. Sometimes it's baked into the school culture and sometimes it's not. And so we don't want to say to those schools where it's not, you can't have a recycling program. It should be fair and there should be equity across the board.
In Claire's situation, we've talked before about making sure it's a legacy. This is a legacy program. This isn't going to disappear once the fabulous teacher moves on to another school district. We want this program to be a legacy and to be in place for the next generations. Wouldn't you agree, Claire? We've talked about that.
Yep. And that's kind of how we came in. Camille, we had a super active parent volunteer that had been doing this work and making great strides. And they were also part of our organization through another door. And we got together and they said, we need more institutional organizational support to grow this and expand this. Are you guys interested? So I love how you described that. It's the yes, and volunteers and let's keep going.
So the average school of 545 students has 75,000 cartons every year that they're generating. And so now we've talked about the importance of it. So let's get to the nuts and bolts. How do you get a program started and get those recyclables captured? So Claire, I'm just going to lead right back into you.
Okay, so how do you get the program started? So I'm going to share some of the tips that we've learned, and there will probably be other surprises that you as a listener are going to find along the way. So keep going and find a way to jump that hurdle and keep moving. So, when we got started, there were early adopters, right, that raised their hand and said, their principal was interested. There was a teacher, there was a custodian or a cafeteria worker. It's like, yeah, great. So you can kind of get that like early adopters going and the pilot done to say like, hey, look, it worked. You have advocates to tell their fellow, whatever they are, that, this was great. And that's kind of best, kind of the best practice sorted out for that school district. Then there's the next phase. And to be quite honest, it took us a little bit of time to find the right person in the school to actually get the attention of the next round of schools. We had the chief operating officer, we had the head of the nutrition department. Turned out it was actually an assistant superintendent for elementary schools that was the one everyone listened to. So, we had to get this woman into the fold. And as soon as she started communication, we were able to move forward. There was also some timing too, for better or for worse, April, I think a lot of people take their heads up from what they're doing and they said, yeah, it is Earth Month. This does matter. What are we doing? Or, oh, I remember hearing about that opportunity for recycling cartons. Yeah, we should do that because it's April now. Thinking about that timing too, like beginning of the year is difficult for some principals because they're just getting started, especially in our district where we had a lot of new principals starting this past year. So those are just kind of, some fun tips and tricks. In a second district we're working in, this was the first district in our region that actually we were able to work with that has a dedicated sustainability staff person. And that was also a game changer. Like you said, having it written into job descriptions, but this person had been hired initially to do some energy work focused on building a new building and retrofitting a building. And when we reached out to them about the waste management side, they said, yes, of course, this is part of my job description. I want to get this done. And they also move things forward really quickly. The other part is, building on other relationships. We've worked with other community groups and just continuing to expand this. We have a great partnership with a Latino Academy. So working with our Spanish-speaking Latino population is also another important way to kind of think about how you grow the advocates for this work.
I need to say something. I've never heard anyone tell me that April's a good month. So
yeah, for us it was.
Real quickly, Camille, do you agree with that? Is there a really good time to set up? And then we'll come back to Claire, but I honestly never heard that before. And this is good for us because we know when to focus our efforts.
Well, the best time to set up a waste diversion program is the time that your school or school district will let you. Having said that, April's a great time. For us, it would be a little late in the school year because by the time April rolls around, we're kind of done in June. And so it would be a little late because it does take a little time to catch on. Having said that, you need to look at the time span differently, change
Okay.
the way you look at it. It's a multi-year process. So, like Claire said, if you can start the year before knowing that you're going to do it in April, get everybody kind of like excited about it, then yes, by all means. And then you don't go back. That is the biggest part. Once you set up the program, you don't go back. And I'll just touch on one other thing that Claire said before she gets into the nuts and bolts about it. Having, whether it's an assistant superintendent or the superintendent or your director of facilities, our most successful programs really do come from top down. You have to have bottom up, but if it's not coming from the boss, it's not taken as seriously. And it kind of goes back to a little bit about what we were saying before. You need to have leadership, get away from the "that's not my job" refrain that's heard. And for us, we try to put that on its head and say it's everybody's job. But in order to do that, you need to have all of the major players kind of buy into that so that it actually happens, and no one can just kind of weasel out by saying, oh, that's not in my task list, or however you say it. So having the support of the admin, and I would say even the school board, if you can get it, that's really a game changer.
We can touch on that in a sec. So what I heard is also, whenever the school will let you start, just start.
And don't
I
go
like
back.
that a lot. And don't go back. Yes, COVID was a great backslide for many schools, and I'm happy to see so many coming back out now. But Claire, let's go back to you. Please do get into the nuts and bolts.
So some of the most important parts of making this program work for us. One is lids on the recycling containers. For us, we have 3-inch square holes cut on those lids in multiple locations. You can do 4 would be recommended, so that there's not a bottleneck when students are coming up to now recycle as another thing they're doing, and that they have the visual cue of square carton, square hole, right? They learned that when they were very, very little with those little toys for the toddlers. So that helps, trigger in their minds, this is just for our cartons, and we have enough access points that you can keep moving. Now, in our schools, we have some schools that have sinks in their cafeterias, some schools that have sinks in their classrooms, and many, many, many that do not. So that means we also need a way to get rid of the liquid. So a liquid capture. So for us, it was a real simple solution. It was, a bucket before you get to that recycling container, and a strainer on top of it prevented things such as, cereal, if there was, milk and cereal, or straws before we got rid of straws. But that helped the custodians. That was kind of a custodian feedback, so that they could then dump the milk out and have a clean disposal of that. We also, I should mention, have been doing breakfast in the classrooms in a lot of our schools. Been a great way. They call it a soft landing, kind of, community building, having the students all together. And with that, having these stations with the liquid capture has been really successful, because so many of the classrooms do not have sinks in them. If there are sinks, obviously they could use them, but just that's been a really successful way to add in the breakfast in the classrooms, participating in the program as well.
Yeah, I think, Claire, you guys have done a great job. Just to clarify that it's a hallway collection program.
Yeah.
For breakfast in the classroom. So they students file out and put things in the hallway bins, so that custodial staff is not taxed on coming into every single classroom. So I do think that's one of the unique features of that program. Camille, what would you like to add? Because you're in California, things are a little different. So what is your key for working with stakeholders and launching a program?
Yeah, well, auditing is such an important factor because it provides us with the data. And sometimes the data is what is convincing the stakeholders. And now for us, my company, we try to deputize the students to be the consultants that do the work, because we feel like there's a lot of value, whether it be education or career building or what have you. And so when students present the data to the stakeholders, they are very attentive, because not only do they want to see what the students have to say and they're impressed by them and the knowledge, but there is this elephant in the room that the data provides. If an audit is done correctly, you can audit for a lot of different reasons, but if you want to put in a waste diversion carton collection system, you'll collect recycling information, we collect food waste information, liquid information. And when you show the decision makers how much of the waste you're generating can be diverted from the landfill, And for us, it's about 80% or more. It's just hard to deny that putting one of these programs in place is not a good idea. And so sometimes the data is the factor that convinces the decision making to start these programs. We have a big assist in California because it's the law. I keep saying that. But you're not allowed to not recycle. So these schools that we work with, they have to put a program in place. When we come in, we're making sure they're doing it, but also making sure they're doing it right. And then following up with trying to get our arms around the contamination that happens at schools, because kids are kids and it is a little bit tricky to get everything perfect. So for us, sometimes the starting point is just showing the data.
I think I could talk trash and recycling all day long, but I know we're all busy and you probably have other things to do. So let's wrap this up. So Camille, do you have anything you would like to add to this conversation that we haven't added yet? And then Claire, the same question.
A couple things that are probably worth just kind of putting a fine tune on is, when we're teaching the kids in school about how to do this, we teach lessons in the classroom. We align them with science, so teachers are very willing to invite us in and take an hour off. And so we can talk about how to do this kind of stuff. Sometimes we sneak in an assignment, a survey, an audit that kids are asked to do at home. And then we're really hoping that it makes it to their dinner time conversation later in the evening. Many times we're approached by parents reiterating and thanking us too for like the education, because their kids just will not let them recycle or throw their food away in an incorrect manner. And we know that we're also creating lifelong stewards by doing this work. I think maybe the other thing that I'd like to maybe put a plug in for is connecting with you. The Carton Council has been part of every single program, pretty much, I think 100%, that I've done. I don't really even think about starting it without maybe seeing if I could get some kind of extra funding or help or containers from Carton Council, because it really is a nice support for what we're doing. With signs, there's ideas, there's a lot of really good resources. I mean, like you said, Debbie, we've known each other for a long time. There's a reason I've been doing this forever, and I don't really try to do it without some kind of help.
Thank you so much for saying those things, because it is true. We try really hard at the Carton Council to provide resources to schools and communities so they can recycle cartons, whether it's in the school or the community. But Claire, I know I've worked with you a long time on a lot of grants too, but you don't have to go on and on about that. Just add whatever you'd like.
Well, I'd be missing the opportunity if I didn't also say Carton Council has been instrumental in making this work happen. Your ideas, the experience you bring from other schools, just being part of that cohort and network is so important. So thank you guys for that support. And I hope others can also, reach out and get excited about working with you guys. I guess a couple closing thoughts as you embark on this, thinking about where there are existing values, missions, operational changes that are happening within a school or a school district that this could be connected to. So, finding that alignment makes it oftentimes easier to get to yes, and a great kind of launching pad. We've been fortunate to grow also our relationship. So think too about maybe collaborations with organizations that are already doing work in schools, or maybe adjacent work that might make sense to be aligned with this. We've had the opportunity through successful work with Carton Council and Carton Recycling to go into organics. And we're now also looking at share tables and getting those implemented. So just, thank you guys for that support that's continued to grow these opportunities for our schools. And also, I think really has shown to me that ability for collaboration from different points that also support getting the carton recycling continuing and moving and progressing.
Well, thank you both for joining us today and for spending your time with us and your expertise. What I heard is the importance of starting with a pilot program and then trying to go school-wide when you have that kind of nailed down and you've learned your lessons. How important audits are, just not only to energize students, but to know what's in this waste stream to begin with, and then to also educate administrators. What is in the waste stream, what students are throwing away, what could be recycled, and the potential savings. There's clear processes, designing a program for your right age group. All of these are really critical to the success of your program. I want to encourage all of our listeners to visit Carton Council's website at recyclecartons.com. This is one of a series of podcasts. We have myriad of other resources that are free that you can download, all of it available for you. We also have financial grants available for school districts. For those, you would want to reach out either to the information link on our website or reach out to me personally, Debbie Dodson, and it's my email is ddodson1@me.com. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us today and keep recycling.